call you Walk.
Why?
Walk.
Why?
Well, your name's Joaquin. I feel like that's too long for me.
You can handle it. I feel like you can handle it.
I see how you save a little
energy. You
energy.
monologue every night.
Yeah, but I save a little energy by calling you Walk.
Okay.
I don't have to do the keen.
Okay.
You know?
That's the good part.
I go, Walk.
Yeah, okay.
You know? And I like walks.
I'm
I like
okay
walks.
Right.
You know? I like guac. Hey, walk is extra, right? That should have been the headline of Vanity Fair. The walk is extra.
Yeah, it's good.
Director Taika Waititi is throwing shade at Joker director Todd Phillips for comments he made recently about how woke culture has killed comedy.
Yeah, Todd, who's known for directing the Hangover films and Old School, was explaining to Vanity Fair about why he's transitioned from comedies to an R-rated comic book film like Joker, saying, go try to be funny nowadays with this woke culture. There were articles written about why comedies don't work anymore. I'll tell you why, because all the effing funny guys are like, F this S, because I don't want to offend you.
So Taika seems to disagree with Phillips' take on comedy because yesterday on Twitter, he reposted the article about Todd's criticism and simply wrote, LOL, he funny.
Interesting.
It is interesting because Todd Phillips, director of Joker, really hasn't done any controversial films. Well, for the most part.
And police are working together with them to add security and undercover officers. Theaters also told customers to not wear masks or costumes. Theater chain Alamo Drafthouse went so far as to issue a parental warning that the film contains, quote, brutal violence and overall bad vibes.
If you're someone who's actually seen Joker, then you would know that all the controversy is for nothing because the film is relatively harmless. To be honest, I really haven't seen any of the movies that Todd Phillips has done except for Joker, and parts of the first Hangover movie because I was 10. So forgive me if I don't know the most about his filmography, but I think I get the basic idea of most of his movies. So if it's anything like the way Norm Macdonald talks about it.
It was the first party I've been to in like 12 years. But it was fun seeing Todd, man. The Hangover was awesome. I hope the second one's...
Yeah.
Like my son was like, I don't know how they can do it again.
You realize you're not going to get to any of your things you're here to talk about.
No.
It's pretty much over now.
That's okay.
No, don't apologize. This is what happens when Norm comes to town.
But honest to God, The Hangover was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Well, The Hangover 2 is going to be even better.
I hope, yeah.
Basically, my thinking is, the Hangover movies could only be controversial in the sense that it contains lewd humor. So swearing, drugs, violence, sexual content, racial stereotypes, things like this. But I seriously doubt that any of the films he's done in the past have ever suggested or portrayed an idea, concept, or way of thinking that could actually be considered problematic or offensive. And this idea of people being considered ostensibly controversial, when in reality they're pretty milquetoast, is a theme that I find often in most forms of comedy, more specifically stand-up comedy, with many Netflix special comedians such as Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, Aziz Ansari, Michelle Wolf, and many others. Sticks and Stones was a Netflix comedy special that came out not too long ago, and it was bombarded by tons of articles criticizing it for being too offensive. So let's start with Dave Chappelle.
Don't ever forget what happened to that French actor. You know what I'm talking about? Juicy Smouillet. He's a very famous French actor.
Chappelle starts off this segment by recapping what happened in the Jussie Smollett case, and then laughs at certain parts to show his own skepticism.
African Americans, we were like oddly quiet. We were so quiet about this shit that the gay community started accusing African American community of being homophobic for not supporting him. What they didn't understand is that we were supporting him with our silence.
He then goes into this thing where he's pretending to be a police sketch artist.
Excuse me 1 second, Mr. Smouillet. Frank, come here for a second. Find out where Kanye West was last night.
Black man wear red hat.
Wake up, Mr. West, wake up, culture. Wake up. Everybody think they so woke, but they following the rules of what woke's supposed to be.
Also, you know, Trump oftentimes is doing self-parody. And nothing looks dumber than if you parody self-parody. You know, you really get caught not understanding.
No matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. I'm talking about them L's and them B's and them G's and the T's.
He then uses a metaphor to liken the LGBT movement to that of a car ride.
Everybody in the car respects the T's, but everyone also resents the T's. It's not the T's' fault, but everyone in the car just feels like the T's are making the trip take longer.
Really? This is it? It boggles my mind that people legitimately find this offensive. Even if he were like a super progressive person, he's not even saying anything negative about them. Here's veteran comedian Norm Macdonald telling a very similar joke with a similar setup but a totally different punchline and delivery.
I love everybody. You know what I mean? Without love, what do we got? I don't care if a guy's a guy, a girl, a guy, girl. I couldn't care less. I love them all.
What do you make of...
I'll have sex with any of them.
So you're the B?
Huh?
You're the B?
No, I'm a person that is so tolerant that I would have sex with an L, a G, a B, or a T. Isn't that nice? But I would not have sex with a straight person.
So if you can't already tell by the amount of clips I've already shown, Norm Macdonald is one of my personal favorite comedians. And he's no stranger to controversy. He was infamously fired from SNL for doing too many O.J. Simpson jokes on Weekend Update. But I was thinking of showing some younger comedians to illustrate my point. The first comedian is a guy named Theo Von.
You know, my neighborhood was poor black, poor white. That was our neighborhood, you know? So I didn't feel any white privilege. I wish I'd have had some white privilege, dude. Sign me up.
We are barely 10 seconds into this, and Theo has already said something that progressive people would find offensive. So he basically just denounces the progressive notion that he, as a straight white male, has privilege by just saying that when he grew up with poor black and white kids.
And my poor black friends would always be like, man, look what you did to us. And I'm like, dude, do you think I would do all that shit to y'all and then move right next door, bro? Now, we gonna split this plum or not, dog? Dude, I got jumped one time after a football game by 5 black dudes. I don't know if you ever fought 5 black dudes at night. Just imagine you're fighting 5 black dudes, right? Now close your eyes. Now how many black dudes are you fighting? As many as your imagination can hold. And if you're a black guy and you feel like that's racially insensitive, then imagine you're fighting 5 white dudes in a cloud.
So as you might already be able to tell, Theo doesn't necessarily bow down to any kind of restrictions. I mean, just the fact that he mentioned being jumped by 5 black guys, whether it's a true story or not, is something most comedians wouldn't even bring up today. So if you've never heard of Theo Von before, it's because he is actually controversial. I'm not saying I find him controversial, but from a neutral standpoint, he is to some people. Theo is one of my favorite comics and has been for a few years now. And Theo doesn't necessarily say that many offensive things. He just has material that doesn't necessarily conform to a mainstream audience. This next comedian is Andrew Schulz. Now this guy is very interesting for a few reasons. First, I never even heard about him until recently this year, but apparently that's because he had trouble getting into the stand-up business, so he found a way around that by just uploading his clips to YouTube.
Like, there's a lot of countries in the world that treat women like shit. That's fucked up. But they got the best food. That's undeniable, right? The more a country's like, stay in the kitchen, the better the food comes out of the kitchen, right? It does. It comes out more delicious that way. Have you ever eaten food from a country where the women are equal? Oh, get the fuck. Sweden, most equal country in the world. More women in government, more female CEOs, and more female engineers than any other country in the world. Swedish food, horrendous. Disgusting. They only sell it at IKEA. You can't even buy Swedish food.
Andrew is a busy guy because not only does he do really good stand-up, But he also has a really great series on his YouTube channel called Dropping In. He basically cuts clips from his stand-up on his tour and combines it with a vlog that he films himself in each city. Without even considering the stand-up part of it, he's just entertaining by himself. But he's not just funny, he's also rather insightful. He even did his own TEDx talk, which I know is not a super big deal because pretty much anyone can do them, but it was still a good listen. So I wanted to keep this video relatively short, so I'm just going to end it with a few sound bites from that talk.
I've always been drawn to Larry David, and I try to figure out why Larry David was this amazing character that breaks all cultural barriers. Anybody you meet that has experienced Larry David loves Larry David. Why? And it's because Larry David is an experiment in authenticity. It's what would it be like if you were your true self 24 hours a day, right? Hey, can I have a bite of your sandwich? No. Why not? I don't like your mouth. We all want to say that, but don't. So when we see somebody say it, we gravitate to that. And I think that what I always believed is I was going to do authentic material. I was going to do material that came from me. It hits you in your gut. I don't do material for how you want the world to be in stand-up. I do material for how we know the world is down here. By being truly authentic, you do not have to gravitate to the world will gravitate to you. My name is Andrew Schultz. Have a lovely night. Okay, take care.